Thank you.
The Honourable Wilson Tucker.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, we did touch on I think I did ask the question as to why, but I didn't receive a satisfactory answer, so I am going to continue that case.
By interjection, that's different to me not providing an answer. You're not satisfied with it, but I provided the answer.
Well, you can't blame me for trying again, Minister.
I can.
It is my understanding that every other state and territory has outlawed rent bidding. Victoria is considering and has proposed to go one step further and outlaw the acceptance of the rent bid above the fixed price, above the listing of the advertised price, whereas WA is basically just looking at the solicitation component of this. You have mentioned the secret shopper program. There is a question there, and I will come back to that. But Minister, I think it is fair to say that these secret shoppers, as exciting as this announcement is, can't be at all home opens all the time. There is a massive hole that exists with rent bidding, and the government's policy is only looking at that small, narrow part of that with the solicitation, the acceptance. We know that there's verbal and non-verbal ways in which you can communicate the message that if you want to secure this property, you have to go above the listing price. I think you and I can both agree on that. There is going to be a massive loophole here. Victoria is looking to close that loophole, and meanwhile WA is just playing catch up. And then between these laws that we're dealing with now and then the second tranche, it could be years. It could be a number of years where this loophole exists and this government really doesn't have an effective way of policing it or monitoring it or really dealing with it that I've heard so far. And so it's with that I do have an amendment on the notice paper, and I do intend to move my amendment.
Is he moving his amendment? He's got to actually move.
You need to move the amendment, member.
Yes, Chair. I intend to move the amendment standing my name. A person must not accept an offer from another person for the other person to become a tenant of residential premise at a rent higher than the amount advertised as the rent for the premises. Penalty for this subsection, a fine of $10,000.
The member has moved the amendment standing in his name. The question is that the words proposed to be inserted be inserted. Minister.
Thanks, Chair. I indicated yesterday, and then I think I did again today at the outset of the consideration of the matters, government won't be supporting this amendment. So it may well be the case that tenants may offer more than the advertised rental price without being encouraged by the lessor or the agent. It's our view that the proposal as set out here, in fact, would be very difficult to police, far more difficult to police than the other, and that the amendment may also have the unintended consequence of inflating the advertised price. So instead of advertising at a lower rent with the flexibility to accept a higher rent if it's offered, the lessor may just advertise the higher rent. So I appreciate the points that the honourable member has made. I understand what the jurisdictions he referred to elsewhere are doing. Our government's position is this is the right step for us to take at this point. If the evidence changes or there's a model that demonstrates there's a better way of doing it, I'm sure government in future will look at that, but we can't accept the amendment and we'll be rejecting the amendment.
Members, the Honourable Wilson Tucker.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, with this amendment, I'm actually agreeing with the government and their policy and their intention here to outlaw rent bidding. What this is intended to do is really close a loophole that will exist in the system. And the example you gave where you said that the unintended consequence here in that the rent could actually, the fixed price could be increased if we were to properly outlaw this is really an indication that the government expects that rent bidding will still occur under this bill. So this bill doesn't go far enough. And I'm a little bit confused as to why this is a half measure where you're basically trying to, you're saying we want to get rid of rent bidding in WA, but we're not going to do it properly. We're just going to penalise you on the first part of that bid, of that offer, that acceptance, and leave a gaping hole in the remainder. I do have a question here. You mentioned if you find a better model to outlaw this, to enforce it, then you're open to looking at it. Have you consulted with Victoria, who are considering, in their view, a better model for rent bidding?
Minister.
No.
The Honourable Wilson Tucker.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, I think that raises the obvious question of why haven't you consulted with Victoria?
Minister.
What they've done is make an announcement about a law they intend to introduce. There's no evidence of its success or otherwise.
The Honourable Wilson Tucker.
Minister, they obviously did wake up one day and just come up with an announcement because they felt like it. There's obviously some evidence behind that to show that rent bidding is an issue in Victoria, and they've found a loophole in their existing laws, and now they're trying to close that loophole. So I would have thought, looking at best practice and looking at what other jurisdictions are doing, it would make sense to have a look at Victoria, and who has had this law in existence, this solicitation of rent bidding, working in the wild in Victoria for a number of years now. And so I would have thought that it'd be good practice and good lawmaking to reach out to the Consumer Protection Department in Victoria. Can I ask why that didn't occur?
Minister.
Thanks, Chair. The member's made a number of pejorative comments in his contribution to date on this. I'm not going to respond to that. I've said what the government's policy is. I said it yesterday, and I've said it again today. I've got nothing further to add.
Members, the question is that the words proposed to be inserted be inserted. All those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Those to the contrary say no.
No.
I think the noes have it.
Divide.
There being a division called, ring the bells. Members, the results of the division are ayes 4, noes 30. The question is resolved in the negative.